Is this mic loud enough? Okay, because I can't hear myself, so I can't tell. That's usually my cue that it's loud enough. All right. My wonderful colleague, the Reverend Kimberly Debus, has this to say in her February 14th, 2023 Substack, Hold My Chalice. We make a mistake when we talk about volunteers in faith communities. I like what Aaron Wathen writes at Patheos. Aaron writes, I balk at the secular nature of what it means to volunteer. To volunteer means you are an outside resource, stepping in to help an organization in need. Volunteering is what we do when we pick up trash at the park, or build a house with Habitat, or help sort food at the local food pantry. Volunteering is what I do at my kids' school on Fridays. In other words, it's what you do at a place that is important to you, but not a place that belongs to you. You cannot volunteer at your own church in the same way you cannot babysit your own kid. Because the church belongs to you in the same way your family does. It's your place, your own people. So of course you help to take care of it. Of course you do yard work and make coffee and teach the kids and sing in the choir and whatever all else it is you do for the home and for the people that you love. Reverend Debus repeats, you cannot volunteer at your own church in the same way you cannot babysit your own kid. And she continues, I like that line. Wathen offers several terms for this role: discipleship, mission, priesthood of believers, service. That's the one I like most. Service gets to what we mean when we talk about shared ministry. If we are to understand the work of the congregation as shared ministry, then we are all serving the congregation, whether we are doing pastoral care or building repairs or serving on the board or ushering or singing or preaching. Whatever it is, we are in service to the congregation and sharing the ministry. We are not customers at the congregation we belong to. We are not members who get tangible benefits for pledging, like a tote bag or discounted tickets. So don't be expecting that next week. We are not consumers of church. We are the church. We belong to a congregation, and it also belongs to us. This congregation is doing the work to understand what this means. So let's take a moment to thank the people in this congregation who serve. I know a lot of you do more than one thing, but I'm just going to ask you to stand if you're able and continue standing if you are comfortable with that. So if you are in Zoom, though, if you can raise your hand if you would like. I know at least if Val is there today and Dustin are active participants in our congregational life. So if you are on the worship team, a worship associate, or have had a role in worship, which may be as a chalice lighter, PowerPoint creator, song leader, or view from the pew presenter, please rise. If you're on any of the membership or congregational support teams, which include safety, orientations, care and connect and greeting, offer hospitality, or are a card sender, please rise. If you are a Sunday discussion organizer or leader, offer Tai Chi or meditation, or facilitate a covenant group, please rise. Some of our people aren't here today. If you're on buildings and grounds or are a grounds carer, please rise. If you work on communications with the newsletter and bulletin, calendar, website, icon, get the mail or phone messages, manage church email, do marketing, or manage the Facebook page, please rise. If you have helped with the events we've hosted, like the MLK Junior Ecumenical Service, the Jim Scott Service and Concert, or the Ecstatic Dance events, please please rise. If you do IT and or AV, please rise. Doug's rising back there in the booth. If you're on the welcoming committee, please rise. If you're involved with our extensive social justice and environmental work, welcoming congregation, food pantry, or any other efforts, please rise. People are like, I'm trying to. If you're on the finance team, count the offering, do fundraising or stewardship, please rise. If you're on the board of trustees, please rise. And for anyone else whose role may have been missed because it was a long list and I did my best, but has contributed to the care of this community, please rise. This congregation has much to offer. Give yourselves a round of applause. And I'm going to ask you to turn to a neighbor or two and thank them for the gifts they share with this congregation. Thank you all for everything you do to live into the mission of this congregation and to make it a faithful place to worship and serve. Last June, I attended and worked, I always work, General Assembly, our annual gathering of UUs to do the work of the Unitarian Universalist Association, to worship together and to share and learn from one another. One of the things I hadn't been able to engage so far this year in worship was the Berry Street essay. It was offered this last year by the Reverend Leela Sinha and titled Tricksters and Tyrannies. If you have a chance, I highly recommend it. In it, Reverend Sinha weaves story, theory, wisdom, and personal experience to start a conversation about a different way to approach the rise of authoritarianism we've been experiencing in this country, as well as oppressions. It was also very much about something I've been naming this year, that we need to be resisting the things that cause harm, and we need to be creating communities that offer care and support and belonging to all of us. Resistance isn't just about protesting and boycotting and contacting representatives and learning our rights to defend ourselves and others from ICE and so many other practices, although it is those things. It's also about the communities we live and love in and make and remake. You may know the story of Sisyphus, one of the Greek gods, punished with rolling a boulder up a hill, only to have the boulder roll back down when he neared the top. Not only was the task impossible for him to achieve, it was a meaningless task. As Reverend Sinha observed in their essay, we need community so we can practice together, practice uphill, practice pushing the stone while not allowing the stone to become the thing that unites us. Or, as writer and organizer Garrett Bucks writes in his Substack piece, 7 Reasons Why Hosting a Silly Little Potluck is Essential to Defeating Fascism, opposition and outrage can only take us so far, but there's no limit to how much we can build together. Being against a thing is healthy and normal, but it cannot be the only thing. It is not the foundation for an identity or a winning strategy or shift in paradigms. You're against fracking? Of course. But what are you for? Environmental preservation, alternative fuels? Because when the thing is defeated, if you haven't done the identity part, if you don't have an identity apart from it, apart from the stone that we've been pushing uphill for a generation, the community that has been created in this striving won't last. And it's okay that communities fade and even die sometimes. But when it happens like this, it is a missed opportunity for all of us. We then need to try and start over again to build something new for the next cause, which is a huge expense of energy when we could have just used the last cause as a launching pad. Some of the people who are good at creating different ways of engaging with the harms of the world can be found in every culture. They are often tricksters and mischief-makers. Reverend Sinha has a lifelong admiration of Robin Hood, whose story and iterations are many, dating from sometime in the 1300s to the present. I think there were 3 Robin Hood remakes since 2000 already. We love Robin Hood. Robin Hood is an excellent example of a trickster or mischief maker and bringer of good trouble. Even in the most flattened trope, we all know Robin Hood. He steals from the rich and gives to the poor. Having become an outlaw for having had the audacity to kill a deer who was on the king's land, so therefore the king's deer, when he was hungry, Robin Hood is deemed an outlaw. Others also find their way into the forest as outlaws, and slowly a community forms. We know them as his merry men. They build homes, share food, resources, and responsibilities among themselves while learning to protect and take care of one another and their community. And it's not just a community of outlaws. There's plenty of people are in need, and some of them make their way into the forest to get help. And so Robin Hood decides to fight for them and for something different, but not through a call to arms or actual fighting when it can be avoided. Mostly, his response doesn't look like fighting at all. Instead, he uses his wit, his mind, his skills, and his charm, and does something unexpected. Sure, he shoots arrows sometimes, but often as a diversion or warning or to be cheeky. And he robs the rich as they attempt to pass through the forest, but takes the excess without attacking them, and also invites them to dinner. He does what he can to provide for his community, just as they do for him in return. In some stories, he works in the castle for a brief time, learning how things work there, what the rooms are for, and so on. He's not recognized and leaves before he is, but not until he has enough information to keep being the sand in the gears or a thorn in the king's or his brother's side on behalf of those who don't have enough. Robin doesn't do any of this because he wants to overturn the system or rise to power. He does it because he loves justice and equity and interdependence and generosity and transformation and, those are the UU shared values, along with pluralism and with love at the center. Robin used these values and the community he is co-creating to shape something new. It is, by definition, outside the social norms. They live in the forest instead of in the kingdom, and puts into practice building a community that he and others wanted to live in. He brings good trouble to the people, and it saves them from loneliness, hunger, fear, attack, arrest, and more. It's such a fine community that people who stumble on it or are cared for it want to stay. There is wisdom here for us to learn. We are living in a turbulent, complex time in our country and the world. We are living in a time when everything feels hard, and we are often afraid that we're not going to make it, that the forces of goodness and truth and justice won't win. We are protesting and boycotting and contacting our representatives and doing all the things against the stone we're trying to push uphill every day. But take this lesson from Robin Hood, too. That is only a part of the fight, part of the work that is ours to do. The other part is making a different life possible. We need different tools to disrupt the difficulties we are witnessing and experiencing now. We need some mischief, some play that will help us imagine and dream and try things. Mischief doesn't always mean good things, but we can focus it to that end. We need this in part because we are a faith that is small. Yes, we can coalition with others, but even then, we may still be small. That means that we can't fight and win on the terms someone else is setting. We have to find strategies that will work with what we have. I have no doubt that we can win a great many things, but we cannot win in all circumstances, so we would do well to find the circumstances where we can win. Robin Hood was never going to win against the king or whoever was in charge, even if he'd wanted to. That would have been him trying to roll the stone uphill. And importantly, he didn't want to because he could see how the existing system was failing the people that it should have been caring for. Instead, people were being exploited, harmed, and taken advantage of. He wanted something else entirely, something better and true. We'd do well to take these lessons from Robin Hood, like using our wits, minds, skills, charms, and values to do something different, something that is authentic to what we believe, something that benefits all of us at no one's expense. We are capable of creating something different, but we have to choose to do it in an outside-the-box, toss-the-cookie-cutter kind of way. Or, the you way. We have to hold our vision and our follow-through to co-create it together. And we can. We is what we do in our congregations every day. We UUs have a long history of being tricksters, mischief-makers, and bringers of good trouble. Our congregations are communities of practice where we experiment and learn better how to be together, where we strive to find our way across differences, where we wonder about what it would be like if we... Because where better to ask those questions than here? An excerpt of a prayer by A.J. Van Tyne. Spirit of life and love and regeneration, even with so much going so wrong, our hearts beat with gratitude for blessings, for beauty and joy stubbornly breaking through, for the compassionate companionship of community, which welcomes all that we bring with us in these times and doesn't ask us to be smaller than we really are, for solidarity and mutual aid. Spirit of transformation, may our hearts break open and stretch out to join with the hearts of others who yearn for a freer world. Each heart a building block of a better society. Each life lived for hope and resistance, a prayer for a nobler world. If you would please rise and lift your voice in song with me for our closing hymn, Over My Head.